Well, if you guys didn't see the show, I don't blame you. Other than that, Jey Uso lost the World's Heavyweight Championship after being overshadowed over Money in the Bank with the return of R-Truth after protests. I mean, absolute protests. Like a fumbling bag. I haven't seen that much backlash over the release of a beloved star since Bray Wyatt was released years ago. And then he returned later on over the fanfare over the buildup of the Uncle Howdy persona after the Fiend went crash and burn around 2019 to 2021. And now Jey Uso is not World Heavyweight Champion anymore. And I'm not trying to say this that I hate, because whenever like it comes to like booking talent, sometimes some businesses are just not going to know how to book when we know how these stars kind of plateau. And Jey Uso was. This is the worst thing to say. Whenever it's a fan favorite, like he's in a perfect timeline to lose the World's Heavyweight Championship. I had predictions that this is barely gonna last around before SummerSlam, and I hate to say that I was right, because Jey Uso really wasn't revolving around the show when he was World Heavyweight Champion. Even around the time when he was booked as like a favored contender, but still the underdog, he just revolved around the bloodline too much and was very limited over his versatility as a character. And in ring wise, couldn't really sell that much. It doesn't really push as much of a reason of his selling other than just kick out, get the Uso splash, push over the spear, near fall. Like, you know how bad it is when people are comparing your title runs to Kofi Mania levels in the middle of Jinder Mahal's world title reign, and he faced more credible opponents. Beat Shinsuke Nakamura, beat Randy Orton, and beat AJ Styles in the same calendar year after losing it. And majority time with his own finish. Even though he had Curry, J&J Security, the Singh brothers that came from 205 Live. You know how bad that is that I can remember that? Hornswoggle's Cruiserweight Championship, one of the last Cruiserweight titles before the 205 Live revived it, was more relevant than Jey Uso's title run. And that's just it is what it is. When R-Truth coming back over as Ron Killings, a notable comedic act that's been a staple of the WWE for over a decade, pushes over the barrier of finally changing over his gimmick to be now a favorite part of television. Seth Rollins winning Money in the Bank, shit, just better shit to watch. More people would have just questioned why is it McIntyre coming out of the feud of the year last year with CM Punk, and then you push over for the catalyst being Damian Priest, and then he's probably not even gonna win King of the Ring. The catalyst for a feel-good moment, y'all gotta stop with the spur of the moment booking, because not everybody deserves a title run over 6 months. And even when you get a 6-month long title reign, that doesn't mean you're gonna be revolving around the show. When we push in the strap, it's either for a storyline or you're a prized priority on the WWE. And let me tell you, there are 7 different world champions that deserved the world title over Jey Uso. And that's not just pure fact. That's not disrespect over Jey Uso. He's just going to be over that catalyst of guys that after winning the world title, that nigga's probably not going to sniff it again. He is Kevin Owens levels of cooked to be plateaued around the upper mid-card as a rise of package, or even worse, back over to the tag division. That we even had his own father, Rikishi, protesting over the questionable booking of why isn't he headlining over the show after winning at Mania. You gave him the Rumble match, and even the Rumble match isn't even a catalyst for being a priority over in WWE booking. Del Rio won it, and he opened the show just for Edge to retire the night after. And then Sheamus won it, and yes, he did win the world title against Daniel Bryan in record time. But other than that, he just felt like the secondary priority when CM Punk is still getting in big feuds with John Cena over the calendar of 2012. Barely anybody that I can tell, unless you do wrestling conversations for a living, know that he feuded with Del Rio and Big Show for the majority of that year. Before losing it to Big Show in Hell in a Cell. Like, that's just how it is. We can't equate this to the sport because wrestling is not a sport. If you can schedule it, book it, and get guys into specific roles that push over on a weekly basis, and I'm not saying that you can't work hard over it, but just know you're just going to be plateaued over in the box when it comes to your look, your limited capabilities of how you can improvise, how you could sell, or how you can make the fans feel like they should give a shit at the end of the day. Or else you're not purely over. If that was the case, if Daniel Bryan was still full-time, if he was disgruntled, because anybody gets disgruntled with AEW, shout out to the hotels, for the women that get underbooked. it just proves how like inept Triple H is at trying to actually find, and hell, I find this even on other federations, that after they put the strap on them, it feels like they're not there. It feels like they can't find a destination where they fit over, that they feel like they are in the hierarchy of the roster. There never feels like they're in a hierarchy of the roster. There never feels like there's not a number of guys that want to take over his spot that are also in the conversation. And I hate that. Because even around like the time when everybody was over in the Reign of Terror, they were trying to make Edge a new favorite up-and-comer. They were trying to make Randy Catalyst to be a favorite. Even Batista, even though he was still part of Evolution, featured that he had headlining potential. Shawn Michaels was still a regular over on the roster. Hell, even if they weren't realistically a guy that they can push, they had Scott Steiner, Test, Maven, guys that they would at least want to try out before anything could push over and crash and burn. And you could see, I use younger relatives as like test subjects over promos, or at least matches. Let me tell you something. When my little brother came and watched Jey Uso talk, he just told me, yeah, I'm going to just go on my phone real quick. Like, there's no imposement into Jey Uso. And he seems like a good guy, a cool father, right there bringing his son with him just to see him lose a world title, by the way. That sucks. That's salt in the wound, bro. But he seems like a reasonable guy, a good professional, and probably this was just not the right strategy for him, and I hope he bounces back to at least be a regular over on the roster. Maybe Sami Zayn trajectory, where they try to force feed you into feeling like you're an underdog that deserves a title, but upper mid card is pretty decent. Like, this is no hate upon Jey Uso. I just feel like this is ineptity over on the booking team and Triple H's ineptness to show guys that can actually carry over a show and actually feel like he can interact with the roster with still carrying his own weight and feeling like there's a swagger about it. There's no swagger around Jey Uso that feels like he can beat Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins on a good night. Even Braun Breaker, that he got squashed against. Gunther already felt like that was just rushed over as a feel-good moment to just see him lose the world title. Because I still disagree to this day that Batista and Roman Reigns were better options to win the Rumble than Daniel Bryan. All because the fans want something doesn't mean they deserve to get it or they know what they get. Or that's the case, so many people would be still protesting Kofi Mania. So many people would be protesting Gargano for their favorite. So many people. But I don't see the protests. I don't even see the protests that go over on AEW. Nobody protests for Ricochet. No one protests for the Young Bucks. Because they're not really over like that. And they don't really make you scream, that's a superstar that's going to kick a bunch of guys' asses. No one says that. So hopefully, It's either have Seth cash in over on short notice to see what this faction can do so we can revolt the show around with already Paul Heyman. Like, they already have important acts shifting over. And the possibilities of trying to turn this around after a post-Mania, with Jey Uso just stinking up the joint, respectfully, of course, as World Heavyweight Champion, can come to an end. That's it over on the DC Show. Like, comment, subscribe for more. You guys feel like Jey Uso should have went a different direction? Who you think should have won the Rumble? Do you feel like Jey Uso should have held the belt longer or a bit shorter? That's it for me.